World terrorism. Acts of terrorism are typically committed for religious, political, or ideological goals. The common usage of the word terrorism is an act of violence used to cause fear with little regard for damage to non-combatants in the area. Carried out by either individuals or groups, this can be completely random or provoked in the face of social situations. Terrorists can be considered freedom fighters, rebels, heroes, and etc., depending on the person's perspective and moral values. People fighting against a corrupt government may be labeled as freedom fighters by others outside the country and can be viewed as terrorists by people who support the corrupt government. The first notable counter-terrorist movement began in Britain and was carried out against militant Irish Fenians in the 1880s. This was seen as the beginning of special forces focused on enemy group infiltration and specific counterterrorism strategies. Terrorism has led to major civil and global unrest, complete government turnovers, has started wars between nations, and has changed entire regions overnight. There are many counter-terrorist strategies, though. One method is target hardening, which is the fortification of notable possible targets against attack. Some examples would be the cockpits on planes are locked during flights by reinforced doors, certain containers in public areas are removed to prevent hiding of bombs, industrial areas with hazardous materials are guarded by federal agencies and have access to immediate government response, and Jersey barriers, which are tall and sturdy structures which are erected around tall or politically sensitive buildings to prevent car and truck bombings. The most popular method, however, is the command and control. In North America and elsewhere, the Incident Command System, or ICS, is primed to immediately establish control and coordination of all emergency response teams and required military actions along with established procedures and plans coordinated into common structures such as special road rules and road areas for emergency vehicles. The Gulf oil spill. The Deepwater Horizon oil spill, also known as the BP oil spill, Gulf of Mexico oil spill, or the Macondo blowout, began on April 20, 2010. 11 people died due to the oil spill. This was considered the largest accidental marine oil spill in the history of the oil business. The explosion and sinking of the Deepwater Horizon oil rig led to a seafloor gusher that flowed for 87 days and wasn't capped until July 15, 2010. It was not declared completely sealed until September 19, 2010. The U.S. government estimated a total of 4.9 million barrels of oil, or 210 million gallons, were discharged into the ocean. Regardless of the massive efforts to contain the oil spill by using skimmer boats, controlled burns, and massive amounts of oil disbursement chemicals used, extensive damage was still done to the surrounding areas of wildlife and local populace. Dolphins and other marine life died at an extremely rapid rate, and wildlife to this day is still suffering from fatal or life-shortening defects caused by the oil. Over 8,332 species were adversely affected by the oil spill, most of these fatal. Numerous workers and residents were exposed to chemicals and have been reporting violent and painful health problems. The economy suffered a major blow when BP plunged in the stock markets, along with all fishing markets and travel agencies, suffering losses exceeding $35 billion. Drilling practices nearly worldwide were permanently changed, with numerous oil rigs being re-inspected and all safety procedures and structures receiving major, strict changes. Obamacare. The Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, is a U.S. overhaul of the healthcare system and is the largest since the passage of Medicare and Medicaid in 1965. It was signed into law by President Barack Obama on March 23, 2010, with the goals of increasing the quality and affordability of health insurance and to lower the amount of people who are uninsured. This supposedly poses a major threat to the health care of seniors by cutting hundreds of billions of dollars from the Medicare Act over the course of 10 years, and the money is being put into new spending created by the law. The cost of health insurance is supposed to go up, but the quality and availability is supposed to follow the price increase. Gender discrimination is being eliminated in the new Obamacare Act, and young adults can stay on parents' plan until the age of 26. 82% of uninsured adults will qualify for free or low-cost insurance. The cost of care will go up quite noticeably, but it is focusing on the amount of coverage provided to everyone. Space Shuttles Challenger and Columbia. The Space Shuttle Challenger launched on January 28, 1986, and 73 seconds into its flight, it broke apart midair, resulting in the deaths of all 7 crew members. The disaster was mainly blamed on the O-ring failure, which resulted in pressurized hot gases leaking out to the outside and causing structural failure of other components. The investigation found that NASA's decision-making process and failure to recognize flaws in design also contributed to the disaster. The O-ring design showed flaws since 1977, but no one recognized it properly. The vehicle, or the space shuttle, was also never approved to operate in such low temperatures, which were occurring on the day of the launch, and they had serious lacking of data to support that they actually could. The Space Shuttle Columbia disintegration occurred on February 1, 2003, when re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. The disaster was agreed to have been caused by a breach in the leading edge of the left wing by insulating foam being shredded from the shuttle. NASA's decision-making process and negligence of design flaws were blamed again. New procedures for re-entering orbit were also established due to the investigation finding that crew members did not have enough time to react to the situation due to the lack of a procedure that would have prompted them to have full safety gear on and ready before re-entry. Investigations found that the lack of safety gear enabled the crew to be incapacitated within seconds without the ability to regain consciousness. Impacts of both disasters led to major delays in all shuttle programs and left many other codependent global space programs to find alternative sources of resources. An example would be the International Space Station without the United States resupply. Major overhauls in procedures and design processes ensued many years after each disaster. Budget sequestration. This was first enacted by the Balanced Budget and Emergency Deficit Control Act of 1985, also known as the Gramm-Rudman-Hollings Act. Sequestration is the automatic across-the-board budget cuts that are enabled in the face of an annual federal budget deficit. Certain programs and activities are exempt from sequestration, and certain other programs are controlled by special rules having to do with the sequester. The sequester sets an immovable maximum capacity on the amount of government spending in broadly defined categories. If Congress, start quote, it enacts annual appropriations legislation that exceeds these capacities, end quote, then the sequestration automatically cuts all spending in that category. The amount of money that reaches over the spending cap is held back by the Treasury and is not transferred to its intended target. Due to the frequently catastrophic results from sequestration, Congress and government in general typically does everything in its power to prevent it. Though there is huge opposition to the harmful effects of sequestration, there is a light side. Due to the large fear and consequences of sequestration, it is also used as a very effective scare tactic to limit government overspending.